you can win with me. Yeah.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I know where I'm coming from. Shocking. Shocking. No, it's not fair. Nicest guy, worst people. Yeah.
You're here?
Aces every time.
I did a little better.
Come on. Vamos.
Vamos.
Just this one?
And the last one, 12. Other tournament, yeah.
How much work is this to you?
Yeah, I know.
Me and you both, trust me.
How are you doing?
Want to head on to the event, please leave the camera. Once again, on the stage, remaining the head on to the event, please leave the camera. Thank you.
Dara, a deck. Deck.
I think they're chucking them over there.
A button.
Yes, sure. Can you take his out of the thing to get rid of the trays? You want to take them out?
Check this.
Yeah, no, just take them out of the tray so we get rid of the tray. I want you to do it. I don't want to touch someone else's goods. It's another player, isn't it? So just so you get rid of the tray. Get the tray, so you get rid of the tray. I don't want to touch someone else's goods.
No, 100%.
You are what it did, do it. Yeah, you need to get rid of the trays. Yeah. Get rid of the trays. Yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you.
Like a pasta sauce.
Thank you. Perfect.
With my chips.
Yeah?
Book the C3, yeah? Book the C3?
No.
Yeah, that one.
Can we have it next time, really?
Right, guys, we're just one short, so we're just waiting for I'll just give him a minute before we get going. Keep a shot and come back.
There he is.
Stuff, good. He's the one who's certain his name on each of them has the name. So that's the only reason behind it. That's predictors. Oh,
I have to deal
Right,
from the bottom,
ladies and
no?
gentlemen, you're on our pizza table, which is live streamed on YouTube. The link is on Facebook group. I pretty much tagged you all in, apart from Stefan, who I can never seem to tag on Facebook. So you know, yeah, okay, you know where it is, so that's fine. The rest of you are all tagged. It's also available on apac.com/live. It's recorded on there's anything you don't want everyone else to hear, then say it. Okay? Other than that, just enjoy yourself.
Guys, I've just got one side of it here, and I've got the final table picture. So John, would you guys go round here? Don, you stay there and move towards the Don.
Welcome back to Manchester, to the Grosvenor Casino here at Bury New Road. We've got for you here the Champion of Champions final table. You won't recognise any of the faces, but I'll run you through who we've got anyway. The guys are just quickly lining up for a team photo. 9 players remaining, top 5 are getting paid. Winner is picking up the winner is picking up, what is good news is a trip to Vegas. What is bad news is they have to go with Tom, but you know, you can't have everything. So whilst the guys are just quickly getting their photo done, which you're seeing backs of heads at the moment. We've got a professional photographer in Tom Brady. This won't take long. Excellent. Right, so they're on their way back round. So let me run through who we've got here. Seat 1 is Steve Redfern. He's our chip leader with 187,000. In seat 2, Shirley Cole with 65,000. Seat 3, John Murray, 32,000. Seat 4, Stefan Roda, 34,000. Seat 5 is Darina Chikotin with 42,000. Seat 6 is Rewat Flair with 60,000. Seat 7, Dave Kingswell, 53,000. In seat 8, our short stack, Dawn Kirk with 25,000. And in seat 9, Don Roberts with 55,000. As I say, top 5 getting paid. Minimum cash 155, 695 up top, plus the Vegas package. And we're good to go. And I've been joined by Chris Webber, who's going to do a bit of comms with us, Chris, yeah?
I am, yes, absolutely, Steve. Steve?
Steve, this has gone well to start with.
All right, thank you. Right, so as I'm sure Lee's already explained, we have a huge chip leader, Steve Redfern. I don't know what his stack is specifically, but I imagine it's around 160.
187.
187. My God,
so, I mean, do you know any of these players at this final table here, Chris? Could you even say what they've won? Steve won in Walsall back in season...
You must be referring to the self-proclaimed four-card specialist.
Yeah, back in season 2, I want to say, I think, at Walsall. Shirley won a national event in, I'm going to say, season 7 or 8, I think. John Murray's won something once.
This is not bode well for you. I have a microphone.
John Murray's won something at some point.
Yeah, at some point, yeah. It may have been the second best commentator award.
Stefan has picked up bracelets at the Worlds, as has Dory, as has Rewat. Dave Kingswell was our Irish champion from this season.
We've got Dawn Cook, who I remember won the Mixed Max against Simon Brooke to contribute to the legend that Simon can never win a tournament.
And then we've got Don Roberts. I mean, has Don Roberts ever won? How's Don got into this? I mean, how has Don got into this?
Alfred.
Don, what did you win, Don, to get into this?
I won
the horse event in 2015 in Stratford. A horse specialist, perfect for this game. So they're all winners already in our eyes, Chris, yeah?
Sure, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But one of them is going to go away with a WCOAP bracelet, gold medal, £695, and a week in Vegas with Tom Brady.
I mean, it's the week in Vegas with Tom Brady that we all want, really, isn't it? I mean, that's why we all entered. We all entered for that, yeah. If you've ever seen Tom Brady strutting around the pool at 10 o'clock in the morning in those tight little Speedos, you understand.
With a gin and tonic in
one hand. With a gin and tonic in one hand and a blow-up banana in the other.
I was about to say, an inflatable flamingo I was going to go for. Yeah. So blinds of 1,000, 2,000 with a running ante of 300. Average stack, Chris, is, my eyesight is shocking. I'm going to say, I want to say 61. Is it 60,000? No, it can't be that high.
The average stack is 62,000, and so we've got a fairly decent
30
average
bigs.
of 30 bigs on the final. This should give Steve a great opportunity because often the issue when you're the large stack, but it's a very shallow average, is that you have a lot of 3-jam stacks for your opens. But Steve is fortunate that. He's going to be able to really take advantage of his chip stack position.
Even our shortest stack here has got 12 bigs, so he's not in a massive rush quite yet. But
I mean, he is in quite a rush, Lee.
What, Steve, you think?
Well, if you've got 12 bigs, you are in quite a rush.
Oh, really? You think so?
Yes, yes. When the average stack is 30 bigs, yes, you are in quite a rush.
Oh, okay. What do I know? I've been doing so well for the first few days on comms, and now I'm getting put in my place. Steve wins that one.
Yeah. Okay. And I think we can expect to see a lot of opens from Steve in late position.
Yep.
You know, a lot of these players, you know, the medals mean something to them.
Massively.
You know, obviously we all play these tournaments for different reasons, but I think it's fair to say that a lot of these players are, you know, they are looking to medal.
I mean, you play the what's the? I mean, Champion of Champions. It's the first time we've really properly run it where we've opened it up to pretty much all of our national winners and world champ side event bracelet winners. The bragging rights for winning this.
I don't think so.
Not sure?
I don't think that's what APAC's about, you know.
No.
I don't think there is that kind of bragging rights element to it, you know. I think ultimately, you know, people just want to see Tom Brady with a blow-up flamingo. No, I have to say, to be in my mind, you know, the bragging rights are the main event and probably the 8 game.
Yeah, well,
really.
I was saying that the other day. I very much feel the 8 game is kind of like the blue ribbon event of the week. Main event's great. And you know, you go on to win that is tough. It's a really, you know, it's a tough field.
And let's be honest, if you win the main event, you actually win a decent amount of money. I mean, what was it last year? About 7.5, 8K.
Yeah.
We're you know, let's hope that we're going to be on for about 8 or 9K. We've just been interrupted by a Dutchman in a hat that is far too small for his head. That guys. So we've got John Murray in the big blind that's folded around to Steve Redfern on a button. Steve.
There's only one thing he's doing here, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a call from Shirley in a small. Shirley seems to be playing about 65k. And Mr. Murray in the big is probably just trying to get some TV time. Oh no, he's actually has found a call. So we're going 3-way to a flop. And we see a flop of 8 of spades, 10 of clubs, 9 of spades.
Which is quite nice for a button and a couple of blinds, really.
Well, it's a little bit difficult. Obviously, it's less awkward for Steve. Had Steve opened early, then Steve would be looking to check this certainly, because he doesn't hit this board very hard. However, the jack of clubs on the turn, if he gets no interest from the small and big, then Steve has to mandatorily put a bet in on turn. Which he does. It check. Steve bets 5k into, and I like this bet. I really do like this bet because the pot is about 13.5k. So Steve bets a very small amount. You know, he gets to basically take a stab at this pot as cheap as possible. They're going to struggle to continue without a queen or, you know, perhaps more optimistically a 7. Certainly they could have turned some clubs, but
it's not going to stop John Murray from starting a conversation, then taking a little bit of time, having a swig of his drink, and then he's made the call.
Yep. And we see the river, which is the 8 of clubs. So we've got the third club on board, and the board has paired. So we've got a Jack 10, 9, 8, 8 boards, and then Steve. And I love this bet. I absolutely love this bet. Steve has now just put John Murray all in, and this is the value of being the big stack. You know, just absolute pressure. And yeah, John lets it go.
Nicely played.
And here we go. This is it, you know. We can see that Steve's opened the button with deuce 3 off. Or rather, deuce 3 suited, but absolute, not low, no. And that's the value of having a chip stack. And Steve's
now, would you show that or not?
No, absolutely not. I would not show that at all.
No, I don't know. That's why I asked the question, because I wouldn't either.
Yeah, no, I don't know why Steve's shown that. It's a little bit of ego, but what Steve's basically done is sort of say to these guys, you know, the value of the big stack is that you get to put pressure on people and push people around. Why give people the incentive to go, do you know what?
We know what he's doing.
We know what he's doing.
Yeah.
I maybe am going to find a light call.
I suppose there's a chance that you might. He potentially could get paid off with a very strong hand later on, but it's a high risk strategy to do that.
Steve's stack is such that he can accumulate much more chips without showing down hands than he can by showing down hands. So there's absolutely no value in my mind of actually showing down bluffs at this point. I mean, I'm not particularly in favour of showing down bluffs in general. In fact, I think that it's something that you should never do. You know, you don't. The last thing you want to do is level yourself into making an action based on the fact that you've shown down a bluff previously, and you think to yourself, well, perhaps my opponent has seen his previous bluff and is now making a play at me. Why give yourself that added complication? You know, shouldn't show down bluffs. Never do it.
So, a quick shout out to Stu Ward, that's watching, hopefully watching us out in Florida, and I think Vince is also tuned in as well. So, hi to both of you guys.
Hello, Stu. Hello, Vince. Stu, why aren't you here?
Stu flies back in on Saturday morning, and guess where he lands in where his airport he's landing at. That question gets there eventually.
I really hope it's Manchester.
It is Manchester.
Fantastic. So we get to see the bearded one.
I think he was originally going to go home, but I just said we have room in our apartment for
come
2
on.
nights.
Come on, Stu.
So he's going to do it, I think.
Get your ass here.
JP's filled the fridge with beer, so what more reason do you need to divert through into Manchester city centre for a couple of days? The weekend should be pretty busy, I think, actually, Chris.
No, it's been very interesting actually. We've had some sort of very limited numbers on a lot of the tournaments that we've had so far. Certainly the evening tournaments have got a fair number of runners. I believe last night they actually hit a cap of 90, didn't they?
Oh, smashed it. Yeah.
You know, the thing that we have found is that certainly the early comps have had very few numbers. I must confess, I'm very disappointed with the number of runners that this one's got. I would have expected at least 60, 70 players to play this.
We reckon we've got somewhere in the region of 120 to 140 champions or people that could have got into it. But I guess it's the same thing. Is some of our players move on. We see some old faces that we don't see again. I mean, probably the guys that won back in season 1. I think very few of them, are playing the APAT, tour now. They've either got family commitments or whatever it is, and that's the way it is. It's a bit cyclical. We've seen some guys that used to play maybe seasons 1 to 5 who haven't seen for a few years, and we've seen them now back playing. Saw James Edwards the other day. Rob Swindles is back playing a little bit more now. Nice to see those guys playing, and we've had already had a couple of guys. Paul McGuinness pick up a bracelet. This
that's
week.
fantastic.
Steve Bailiff as well.
I think everyone was absolutely delighted to see Paul and Steve, for that matter, pick up a bracelet.
And obviously a guy that's been a regular throughout APAT, Ian Thompson.
Yes,
picking up a bracelet
and
as well.
What's been really interesting this year, and I think has been unique to this year from previous 2 to 3 years, is that in the past we've had a lot of local players have taken down, the win, and have even got in the second and third positions. But this year particularly, it has been sort of the year of the APAT regular.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And obviously, from tomorrow, we've got the team event for 2 days. I know a few of the teams are kind of flying in today. Some of the guys have already been here since Saturday. A number of the German players, Italian players. Belgians arrived yesterday.
Yeah, I know Team Italy arrived today. Luca and his group of players came in a couple of hours ago. They're the defending champions. Oh, and just as we chat away, John Murray's moved all in for what looks to be about 20,000, but he's got it through. And John adds to his rather meagre stack at the moment, but of course, as we know, fortunes can change quite quickly. That being said, I have to say, compared to certainly some of the other final tables that we have seen at APAT this week, this does look a fairly deep structure. It will be interesting to see how nitty the play is for players who are just looking to get that minimum cash, and those players who actually want to win. I think Steve's stack of what is now was probably approaching 200,000 is the knock-on effect that's going to have to the average for all the other players.
Now, I know when you were on the final table the other night, when we got to that sort of thing, we started giving you abuse, going, it's yours to lose. But he's not anywhere near that level yet, is he? It's a nice stack, but actually there's still plenty of chips around
Well,
the table.
the funny thing is that actually, with the grief that I was getting last night, Steve is actually in a far more dominant position than I was, because I was 50% of chips with 4 people left. Steve is about 40% of chips with 9 people left.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
by that logic, there are a lot of other people with a lot shorter stacks.
Yeah, yeah.
Particularly as well, when I was playing mine, the blinds were much bigger. So Steve's chip stack is absolutely monstrous on this table. Steve is looking at over 100 big blinds, which for an APAC final table is huge.
So anybody that fancies going back and watching Chris's bracelet win or any other win so far this week that we've been streaming, you can go onto the YouTube, apac.com YouTube channel and find them on there. They're also on apac.com/live. I've got all of the links up there as well, so you can go back and watch any of them. They get recorded, and once YouTube process them up, they're available for you to actually just say you can literally flick through them and catch any bit of it that takes your fancy, really. So we're going to see a flop here then.
Yeah, we appear to have a Dutch chap in seat 7 who I must confess I don't know his name, or 6 rather.
Rewert.
Say that again, please.
Rewert.
And one more time.
Rewert. I did ask him before because I wasn't 100% sure.
Right, okay. So, yeah, that guy has...
You're not even going to have a go at it, Chris?
No.
So Rewert's bed out here.
Yeah, and Steve's let last one go. So we can assume that Steve's opened and Rewert's defended a big.
But when you've got a big stack, Chris, you can afford to play more hands, knowing very well that you can let a few go if somebody just play back against you, yeah? Or is that a way of just dribbling away chips?
That's an interesting point. I think the issue is for Steve is that I'm actually looking at all the stacks to his left, and we've got Shirley sat with 60, so she's got 30 bigs. So Shirley's in an awkward spot. You know.
Yes, not a great seat draw for her, is it really?
Well, I mean, arguably, yes, of course, you want to be on the left of the big stack, but the thing that's difficult about Shirley is her stack size. If Shirley has 15, 20 bigs, then she can just 3-jam, but Shirley's stack is too big to do that. John Murray has the ideal stack. Obviously, we'd all prefer to have more chips, so I don't misunderstand when I'm sort of saying that John is in a sort of more favourable position. Obviously, he's not. We'd all rather have big chips. But Steve is getting to the point now where the player 2 and 3 to his left have perfect 3-jam stacks, so Steve can't open too wide when he is in late position, because he will start if they recognise correctly that Steve will be opening as wide as he should be. They can 3-jam really light, and Steve will struggle to call. Now, we actually do have an all-in here. Steve has folded. The button is on the Rewert, and it's folded round to Stefan, who has moved in for what looks to be around 28k, so about 14 big blinds. And Dorina has found the fold, so has Rewert. So we are now with David Kingswell in the small blind, who has asked for a count. Lets it go in the small, and Dawn in the big blind also lets it go, so Stefan Straub gets through.
So Stu Ward on Facebook says, well done for last night, Chris. He'd have messaged you on Facebook, but you're never on there, which makes this message useless too, apart from the fact I've just read it out to you.
Thank you very much, Drew. I look forward to your arrival. We'll have a few beers and...
Well, he's on the cocktails in Florida. Could he send me some pictures of them? He's on the 3rd one of these hurricane jobs.
Is it allowed for someone with a beard like that to have a cocktail?
He's drinking in Disneyland, I believe. I'm not sure whether it is allowed. He has asked a question...
Are you responsible for some children you're with, Stu?
He has asked a question, Porp, the most popular winner of an event ever, Lee, Chris. And I'm not sure what Porp means. I think it's... We think Paul McGuinness, yeah, okay, yeah.
I'd say it's Paul McGuinness. Yes,
I wonder if it's Paul or Pabbles. I couldn't work it out.
Probably interesting.
Probably Paul,
interesting.
But you're right, it's probably Paul. Yeah.
It is probably Paul, but I actually do think that Paul and Pabbles, or Ian Thompson, to those who don't necessarily frequent online, I'd say there are 2 incredibly popular APAC winners.
As a first day of a World Championship Amateur Poker, it was a pretty good day.
It was fantastic, absolutely. Yeah.
So Chris is offering Dawn quick tag team, yeah, opportunity.
Dawn's looking at me and giving me sighs that she's there with her short stack, and I'm reminding Dawn that I have no stack. So, yeah, I don't have much sympathy for her. Dawn's now giving me evil eyes.
Yeah. So Stuart's just replied, yes, chaps, I do believe I'm referring to Paul. I may have translated that for...
Ward is fairly unfortunate. He does suffer from incredibly fat fingers, so it's understandable that the man can't type.
Stefan is now messaging me from the final table. Oh dear.
Smoke one, please.
One of the people actually on the final table messaging me, actually. It's a bit random, but yeah.
What does the message say? Bring me more green chips.
yeah, I need more chips.
Bring me more green chips. No, Stefan, we cannot do that, I'm afraid.
No.
And it's now down to Rewert, who has opened to 4.5K.
4,500.
We have a call from Dave Kingswell on the cutoff. And Steve Redfern in the big is also called. And then we have a very interesting board of 7, 8, 9 rainbow.
With the players in the hand here, you'd like to think we're going to have some action, yeah?
Well, sometimes boards like this actually prevent action. Particularly this turn. It's very hard to generate action when, you know, now this is perfect. I mean, Steve absolutely has to represent this. He knows that both of these players will not continue without a 10, and indeed they don't. And Steve takes that one down after the board brings the 4 straight. The turn brings the 4 straight.
So Stu's just asked, can't have all fingers made purely of bone, Chris. Deafened anyone with your clicking recently?
Indeed, Stu. My clicking is fairly impressive, but when you have ET fingers, mate, there's not much you can do.
New deck, please.
Just had a dealer call for a new deck. Probably John Murray, who's just marking the cards. No, I joke, of course. Every player here is honest with integrity. A snuffle laugh next to me. Care to weigh in?
No.
No, we don't care to weigh in. Okay. Okay, rework, tries again, he opens to 4,500. Don on the buttons, considering his options. Or Alfred the butler. Alfred the butler. Professor X in seat 1 lets it go. As does Shirley in seat 2.
Hi to Karen Balby that's watching. I think she's Joby did tell me when she's arriving, and I can't think when it is, but can't wait for you to get here, Karen. She says, "Come on, the girls, take it down." Nice to see plenty of female players on this final table.
Yeah.
One of them's all in.
And we we have Dawn Cook all in for 8 bigs. And Alfred the butler is considering his option. And Alfred does let it go. Professor X makes the call. It's a fold from Shirley. And John Murray will... Oh, that's a very quick fold from John Murray. Normally he likes a bit of TV time. And we have Queen for Dawn, and we have Ace-9 off for Professor X. Or Victor Meldrew also.
It's the Queen's at risk.
And it's a Jack-6-9 board. That's an 8 on the turn. And it's an ace on the river, and we lose Dawn in 9th place.
Thank you, Steve.
Professor X gets there. Although we've just seen Professor X get up, so perhaps we should refer to him as Victor Meldrew from now on.
You seem unhappy with the flop.
Aunties, please don't.
Steve is constructing a rather nice tower now. I don't know entirely how the camera will illustrate the stacks that players have, but I can assure you that Steve has probably now, would you say that Steve's approaching half the chips in play?
Steve just moved towards Shirley for a minute and show the camera.
Yes, 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 yes. And look at the pathetic amount of chips in front of John Murray.
4,500.
It's like John Murray doesn't want it. We get a raise from Dave Kingswell.
Do you
we
not
get a raise from Dorina, rather. I apologise. And Dave Kingswell finds the call.
Do you not get the feeling John was all keen until he found out it was a trip to Vegas with Tom Brady, and that's put him off?
I like to think that a trip to Tom Brady would be very exciting for John Murray. And I wonder if the commentary has impacted John's decision to move all in. I feel that we should talk away from the table. Dorina folds, but we get a call from Dave Kingswell. John Murray has ace-king. No, he didn't. He had a good hand. Dave Kingswell with ace-jack. And the ball comes ace-jack 5 and a deuce. And we lose John Murray, the highest point scorer of APAT history, in 8th place.
So basically, Chris, you had a quick chat with Dawn and went, do you want to, do you want some cards? Well, I'll some cards to do it, and bang, she's in next hand. Then you talk John Murray into getting it all in with ace king against ace jack, and you're doing well. Commentator's curse.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you potentially overestimate my power.
Auntie, please.
Guys, we are now down to 7-handed. Yes, guys, we are down to 7-handed. Rework has opened under the gun for 2.25. X.
4.5.
We have a fold from Mr. Kingswell, a fold from Alfred. Victor Meldrew lets it go. Shirley lets it go. Stefan in the small also lets it go, and Dorina makes the call. So we're going to be heads up to the flop. Dorina in the big blind, first to act on an ace-10-5 two-spade board. Dorina moves all in, and we see a fold from Reworked. Dorina shows the ace for top pair, and Reworked shows his pocket eights, which did not like that flop. And Reworked shakes his head, he really did not like that flop. It was an unpleasant flop for him.
We're going to break after this hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Just been told we've got a break after this hand. So we're in our final hand of 1,000, 2,000, until presumably we go up to 1,500, 3,000. We are about to go on a break, Lee. Yes. Yes, but.
When you go to the look, just then I'll be a break. There won't be any guys who are playing on.
Playing on. The clock needs to be changed.
He's had half hour break before we start the time. A little food break. You can afford to sit a couple of hands to be fair. It's not.
I just went off the clock. The clock said
I
break.
understand. Like so many other things going, sometimes the clock is wrong. That's not you, is it?
In which case,
It's still 1 and 2.
we are
It's not 1 yet.
15-3 with a 400 ante, ladies and gentlemen.
Slight confusion over whether there's going to be a break or not means Chris has just gone to run after Steve Redfern in the toilets. He'll be back shortly. Steve can afford to miss a few antes, and you get a nice view of his chip stack whilst he's not sat there in seat 1 there. So on we go. 7 players remaining. Top 5 get paid.
7,500.
And Shirley makes it 7,500 and folds round. Just Dave Kingswell in the big blind. Remaining, Dave top right of your screen with a baseball cap on. And he's going to fold, and Shirley gets that through.
We're getting a player. 700.
It was that bad. It was that good. You must have seen it.
Oh, is it?
First card, not the last
Save the country. 7,500. Clear as all.
Just quickly rearranges the furniture on his way through. We are in a packed card room today, aren't we? It's the first day where it feels like every, either.
I mean, how many? We got 4 comps running for now, though, right, Lee?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And actually, I feel like I should point out. Or actually, I tell you what, I will get onto that point immediately afterward. But Shirley has opened to 7.5k, and Stefan has moved all in. We have Stefan with Ace Queen, Shirley with Kings.
It's who's at risk here? I'd say Stefan just.
Stefan is definitely at risk.
The Ace Queen's at risk.
Ball comes 7-9-5, backdoor spades for Stefan now. Just needs to hit an ace, and he bricks. And Stefan is our player out in 6th. Also, guys, I can't count. Stefan is our player out in 7th. So now we are on the money bubble. 5 get paid. We have 6 left. As I was referring to previously, whilst we have Steve Redfern on the final of the Champion of Champions event, we also have Matthew Redfern, Steve's son, who has come to play the same schedule as Steve. He's actually on the final of the Mixed Max. Thank you, Lee. Yes, he's on the final of the Mixed Max. So, yeah, we have 2 Redferns on the final at once.
Ever happened before?
I think that's probably fair to say. It's a fairly unusual surname.
Please, anybody interested in playing a 3-6 round cash game? We have a vacancy available.
Dave Kingswell has folded around to his button. He's made it 7,000 at blinds, 1,500, 3,000. Steve Redfern in the big. Now, Steve has let this one go, and obviously we can't get too excitable with our chip lead, but this is really the point. The point on the money bubble and the medals bubble is where the chip leader needs to be putting maximum pressure on. And I hope to see that Steve will do that. I expect to see, rather, that Steve will do that. Steve's been around long enough to know that you know, these are the points where he can accumulate even more chips.
So Shirley scoops that one up and adds to a stack. So blinds are 1,500, 3,000 with a running ante of 400, and we are six-handed here now on the money bubble. Min cash is 155. Then, as you can see, right-hand side of the screen, it goes 215, 325, 460, and up top is 695 plus the WCOAP bracelet, gold medal, and trip to Vegas for our champion of champions. Guys have qualified by either winning an APAT national live event or a WCOAP side event
9,000.
in the last 10 seasons. So Stu Ward says these cocktails are delightful. I don't know if that's a rub down because your beer that you were promised has disappeared, Chris, or whether that's actually just he's even aware of that. Really, I think he is. I think that's why he said it.
Stu Ward absolutely loves APAT, or he needs to learn how to holiday better.
Yeah, all the way to Florida and to watch the live stream. He is an APAT super fan.
I'm sure at this point Shirley is going to get her big chips visible at the front. She's just looking at her cards now. Nope, she heard it and she's disregarding. Open from the commission, from Alfred rather, for 8,000. Undergun +1. Victor Meldrew is looking like he's reaching for a 3-bet, and he is. 3 bets to 18,000.
So Shirley's just asked for a count of how much Don's playing.
Seems to be in a rather.
Yeah, I was just saying, Chris. She's asked Don how much he's playing behind. So Don's in seat 9, bottom right of your screen. Obviously knows that Steve is chip leader because he's rated up. And
it is very interesting that Shirley has asked Don how much he's got behind, and it's something that you want to be very careful of, because if you've got 3-bet, if someone's got 3-bet by the chip leader, and you're concerned by how much the short stack has, it looks like you're trying to exercise fold equity of your stack on the chip leader's 3-bet. And as soon as you do that, you kind of do suggest that your hand is weaker.
So Don's made the call.
Don has made the call. Don has rather surprisingly made the call. Don has put in a third of his stack at this point.
He's probably playing, what about maybe 35,000 behind?
This is a terrible flop for Don. The board is deuce, 3, deuce. It's a terrible flop for Don. If had a big pair...
If Don checks here, Steve's going to bet, yeah?
Don has to assume that if he has a big pair and Steve's 3-bet him, based on Don's stack size, Steve can't fold to Don's 4-bet pre. So, that being said, this board hits neither player, so we have to assume that Steve Redfern has got ace-king, and Steve Redfern is actually looking to fold. It's very odd that Don hasn't moved all in. Perhaps he was simply looking for a board that did not have an ace or a king on it.
So Don
has moved all in for about 40,000.
And Steve genuinely gave a sigh of like,
very strange.
Not just,
very strange play from Steve. I mean, it feels like we're perhaps seeing a stop and go from Don there.
I mean, we've got to be putting Steve here on ace king, ace queen, ace jack, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, Steve.
If it's an overpair to the board, he's surely snapping it off and going, well, if you've got a better pair than me, fair enough. Yeah.
He should be. He should be.
They're now having a chat behind the dealer. You can see them on your screen. I mean, are you a fan of chatting at the table when you've got a decision to make? Do you gain much information from other players, Chris?
Absolutely, yes, 100%. I'm also an advocate that if you're ever in a pot, that you should not say a word.
Once you've made your decision.
Once you've made your decision, once you've moved all in. Oh, in fact, if anything, I would say that personally, I will not talk.
Don's even looking away. Steve's staring right at him behind the dealer, and Don's just not any interest.
The funny thing is Don couldn't have appealed the 3-bet of ace queen and just moved in, and Steve's got ace king and now is struggling to call. No, I would say you should never talk whilst you're in a pot. If anyone tries to engage you in conversation when they've moved all in, you should not talk. Rather spectacularly, the beer that I was waiting 25 minutes for has arrived, having just ordered another beer.
Steve's still staring at him behind the dealer. It's quite unnerving, actually. And Don is just not reacting.
You must have been at the point where Don put his fingers in his ears and started waving his head around.
Oh, did he really? Okay.
He did.
I was looking away at the time.
Yeah, we can see that on the camera as well. I think that Steve Redfern might be looking to find a way to call with ace king here. It's
a little bit strange now, Chris.
I'm finding it a little bit strange that Don hasn't moved all in pre. I think that we can expect to see Don with... I actually have to say, I think that Don's possibly got something like pocket eights and Steve's got ace king here.
Shrinking.
Give me a shout when you make your mind up.
Let's it go. The fans at home, Don, are asking if you could show a bluff. Don has got pocket eights. Steve, ace king. Yes, Don did have the eights.
Big blind, please, sir.
I'm happy to say.
7,500. $10,000.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have actually been discussing a JP conundrum, and the final table is continuing as we speak. Although, if I'm entirely honest, the JP conundrum was more interesting, but we do appear to have a check raise from Dave Kingswell on a 9-7-9 Ace of Hearts board. It appears that Shirley has bet 10k, having had Dave check to him, and Dave has now check raised to 22k. Shirley is now deliberating. Cool. So we now go to a river, which is the 5 of spades. Action is on Dave Kingswell. We have a 9-7-9 rainbow flop. Turn brings the Ace of Hearts, bring a backdoor flush draw, but that breaks off on a 5 of spades river. And now we are with David Kingswell in the big blind. David has now announced all in for what appears to be about 46,000. No. The interesting thing here is that, you know, if David Kingswell is bluffing, then Shirley, when she calls on the turn with an ace, she's made that decision on the turn, so she should be calling on the river if she decides, because David has to, if he is bluffing the turn, has to barrel the river. The pot size is perfect for his shove stack, so. Yep, and we have a confirmed count of 46,800. And Shirley is now pained. Yep. Pained.
Left-hand side of your screen for those of you at home.
Don Roberts' fan club, or rather, should I say Alfred the Butler's fan club. And Shirley does make the call, and Mr. Kingswell has the trip nines for a very agreeable flop. And we had an ace-jack call from Shirley. So Shirley had made the decision that David was bluffing. David gives a fist pump and a chest bump and a high five. Very pleased with that result. That now must have propelled David comfortably into second place in the tournament.
Finally actually start maybe competing with Steve Redfern.
The 4-card specialist, impossible. Can't happen, can't happen. Finished stacking his chips. He is going to give us a count of where he's at, but I think we look like David's probably at about 160 or 170,000 right now.
Big blind, please, sir.
We go then, Chris. Chris is just going to give Dave a hand stacking up the chips because he's just that type of guy. All friendly here. There we go. Dave can now focus as it's folded all the way around.
David in the small blind.
As it's folded all the way around him, so he can now focus on his hand.
David completes, and it is on Alfred in the big blind, who checks. You have a flop of ace 3-5, ace 3 of hearts, a check from David, a check from the commissioner. Turn is the 5 of hearts, bring in the 3 flush, and a paired board. David bets 3,000. Cool. And we have nothing from David. And and David's bluff with Queen High is good. Don had a double gutter and a presumably flush draw, one would hope.
Give it a quick message out there, which just says, thanks, Lucy.
Thanks, Lucy.
Ante, please, sir.
We're playing about 160,000 now. We're solidly in second place. We do actually have a number of fairly short stacks now. Shirley, after that hit with the ace jack on the 998 ace, 998 ace bit board, having doubled up, David Kingswell is short. So yes, we have a very clear first and second with Steve Redfern, who I'll just clarify from Steve. Steve, how many red stacks do you have on the bottom? Three. So we have Steve Redfern with what looks to be around 210,000. David Kingsworth around 160. And I would have to say that Don is probably in third place with around 70,000. Dorina lets that one go under the gun. We see an open from rework with 6,500. Roberts appears to, yep, just calling on a button. A fold from Steve and a fold from Shirley. So we're heads up to the flop. Hijack versus button. Both playing similar stack sizes. Ball comes down queen, 3 deuce, 3 hearts. It's on rework. Rework's reaching for chips. Looks like we have a continuation bet of around 8,800. $9,300. And looks like we're going to see a call from Dom. And we're off to a turn. The turn being the jack of diamonds. Rework has now moved all in on the jack of diamonds turn. And Don has a decision on the bubble here. Don is asking for a count.
Count it.
A count here from the dealer of rework stack. Don seriously considering making this call.
$44,400.
Count has been given at 44,400. If Don were to call and lose this, he'd have about 10,000 behind, so big decision for Don here.
Call.
Don does make the call. And Rewa has top with the nut flush draw. Don looks very unhappy with that and has king, queen, no flush draw. So Don has 2 outs. And he does not get there, and Rework doubles up. He seems very pleased about it.
44.
And that has now left Don incredibly short. Don now looking like he has about 3 big blinds left. Massive pot for Rework. And yeah, Rework is now certainly a force in this tournament.
Ante, please, sir.
That's why I thought Tony was favourite for it.
Ante.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see where you, yeah, okay.
What?
I see where you are now, yes.
Yeah?
What?
I'm just chasing Andy Duncan with the microphone. He has proclaimed that there's no one out there, so if you are out there, please do respond on the Facebook homepage and tell Andy Duncan that he's wrong.
All in. Clear as all in.
Oh, I'm really awful at this because it looks like we actually do have an all-in. Dorina in with 6-7 versus the ace-9 and a flush. Fortunately for Dorina, it is for 3 big blinds from Don, who has now virtually tripled up with the antis in play. But Dorina now very short, playing about 18,000.
Some people went all in.
Good luck, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not sure I'm very good.
Where's the second fucking microphone?
Big blind, please. Thanks, guys. All in.
So just catching up with some of the rail here whilst they were on their break, but they've headed back to the tables now. JP Round and Simon Brooks and Andrew Duncan.
Very popular APAC players are now returning to their, I don't know what you would call this, Lee. It's a combination of stud, high-low, and Raz.
Triple stud, I believe.
Triple stud, they've called it, have they? Right, okay. I believe we're now down to the final two tables of that. And from where I'm stood, it looks like Simon Brook is a big chip leader in this. Can we expect Simon to have another second? Or, if I should actually refer to it correctly, another Brook?
So the final table of the mixed max has started, and I can see Redfern Jr. Matthew is up there.
I've just been advised from Lee that you're not listening, so never mind.
Yeah, that's my mum, not my wife.
Sorry, yes. Mother Wiltshire, I should have said. I mean, you know, the partner also doesn't listen either, so.
No, she doesn't. No. Well, only if I've not phoned home for a while, and it's a case of just checking I'm actually still alive. It's a good way of doing that.
We still seem to have a fairly reasonable. We still do have a 23, 24 big blind average on this tournament.
Yeah, so blinds have just gone up from to 2004.
Professor X's stack has somewhat skewed this average.
I don't know why we're in that APAC bubble, Chris. It doesn't feel like 7:30 at night, but we're already a good chunk through the day.
Because normally we're here just hating life at 3:30.
Yeah.
Because everyone's nicking along with about 4 bigs. But here we do actually we have some play here, so let's hope we can actually see some reasonable poker.
So decision on Dave Kingswell. And he calls out the small blind.
We have an open from Steve for 8,500 under the gun. Mr. Kingswell, the top two chip stacks clashing here. And we see a flop of 10 Jack 3 of diamonds, 10 of hearts. We see a check from Dave Kingswell and a check from Steve. Off to a turn. The turn being the king of spades. It's a fantastic card for Steve. You have to imagine that Steve's going to bet this regardless. Steve does bet, he bets 9,000. And Dave does make the call. And we now come to a river, which is the 8 of diamonds. I've just seen a very angry man walk past, that's Dwayne Stacey. But we now have the river, which is 3 diamonds. Dave Kingswell now leads out for 16,000. Lee, I have to ask you, do you know of an angrier person than Dwayne Stacey? Incidentally, Steve Redfern has folded, but let's talk about the angry Dwayne Stacey.
I saw him earlier on during one of the breaks, and I did go over to Simon and say, I've just seen angry Dwayne. And that's possibly the first time I've really seen it, and he really, really was angry.
Was that after he'd punched the waitress, or?
I don't know what had happened, but he was going away shaking his head, mumbling something.
No.
Wasn't happy.
He's an angry fellow. But
a very nice chap at the same time.
Well, you're half right. You're half right. He is an angry fellow. Yeah.
So raise up here from Rework. Round we go to Don, and Don's all in from the small blind.
Don's all in. Dave Kingswell plays table police, and correctly so. But
well, actually, it was double tagged with Dory as well.
And Rework has queens, and Don has the ace-9 of hearts.
Ace-9 at risk here, then, Chris. Ace-9 at risk here.
Ace-9 at risk, yes. We see a jack, 10-7 board, so a good flop for Don. Short of hitting an ace. He does hit his 8, so we need a 9 to lose Don Roberts, otherwise Don does get the double up. And Don does indeed get the double up. To about 7 bigs.
They're more annoyed than you are. They're more annoyed than you are. That's
Tenentis, please.
Okay. So on to the next hand. Dave Kingswell opens for 11k in the cutoff. A fold from Steve and a fold from Shirley. Shirley now actually in almost as low, or in fact possibly lower. In fact, yeah, absolutely. Shirley is now the short stack. Still reeling from the ace stack versus 9-8 on the 9-9-7 ace confrontation with Dave Kingswell. Now is only playing what looks to be about 4 big blinds. Remarkable. And that hand happened so long ago, and yet Shirley is still here. She hasn't made a move yet, but one would assume that she will be making a move soon. Hopefully. All around to Steve on a button. Steve moves all in. His all in is effectively about 6 bigs. Shirley folds and Dorina also find the fold. Steve just applying ICM pressure here. Clearly both of these players want to cash. We are looking at a bubble of £155. Both Shirley and Dorina incredibly short now. In fact, both players less than their starting stack. Don Roberts moves all in. This is interesting. We've got to assume that Don is a fairly strong hand here, only because Don only has about 8 big blinds, and we do have 2 players at the final table with about 3 and 4 big blinds. Professor X, or Victor Meldrew, as I've been asked to refer to him, has now isolate moved all in. Shirley and Dorina are delighted at this outcome. And we have an all-in, and Professor X with ace-jack. Don Roberts with ace-king of diamonds, ace-jack of spades for Steve Redfern. We go to a flop. A flop of 7, 9, 6, 2 diamonds. Steve in really rough shape, 2 outs. And Steve is dead, and Mr. Roberts doubles up. And yeah, the two most disappointed players at the table are Shirley and Dorina. Dorina looks at me as if to say, what do I need to do to get this cash? But Don doubles up. Yeah.
You wouldn't be here if you were, mate, to be fair. You wouldn't be here if you were.
Now doubles up to what is rather curiously 4th place with about 14 bigs. So now it's basically going to be a case of who busts first. 20 bigs, I've been informed by Professor X. Oh right, I've actually been told that Don had 40k. So yeah, we're looking about 11 or 12 bigs for Don. So now Dorina and Shirley really are in the danger zone. From Dorina on the button. For about 3.5 bigs. Okay, and we have a shot from Dorina with Queen 7 for 3.5 bigs, called by Dave Kingshill with King 7 off. So we got we need diamonds for Dorina. It's a terrible flop for Dorina. She needs running diamonds. Oh, yep, it's out, and Dorina is unfortunately our bubble lady. And we have a boat for Kingswell.
Oh, is it? You could get rid of some of them. I don't know. I'm saying you could get rid of some of them, surely.
Let's be honest, mate. We've never had this many chips.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I had 1.4 million.
You've opened the chip stack and you put them on the table.
I had 1.4 million in Dublin once. That's why I said.
Was it a million starting?
Blind tendies, please.
Oh, get me right there. I had to call him that.
Absolutely delighted. She's made the cash with with 1 point fuck all big blinds. She's in the cash now. Apologies to any children that are watching, but if you are, question your parents why they're letting you watch gambling. So.
That's me off. I'm done. That's it. I'm out. I'm done.
All in.
An all in from Shirley for what looks to be about 13,000.
13,100.
Fold from Rework, which I think we all must agree is a fantastic name, by the way, guys, right? Rework, fantastic name. And looks like Don Roberts in the big blind, having had Dave Kingswell fold in the full end. Don Roberts makes a call. And we have Queen. Shirley has somehow found queens for her 2.5 for 3 big blinds. 5-3 off for Don in the big. And I feel like, unfortunately for Shirley, it's all good. Oh, Don does flop a gut shot. He's now got 4 outs. He's not hit it. Everyone's excited, but it's irrelevant. And Shirley doubles up. Or, considering how short Shirley is, possibly quadruples up.
I do 3, that's why I didn't want to call. I didn't know, mate, that's why I couldn't call. I had 2-3 off.
Nice action.
Shout, I want to do it. I'd do 3. I'd do 3. Yeah. That's what I want to go out with this, she'll kill me.
Evening to the Duke, to Jer, who's watching, thinking about driving over later on. Say hello to Chris Webber.
Thinking about it that hard. We have an all-in from Shirley now with a rather more impressive 7 bigs. Rework, then isolate, reshoves for actually some chips. Professor X folds, and again, we are heads up.
We're all
Ace
action
king
here,
for
Chris.
rework, pocket 8s for Shirley. Shirley at risk.
8s at head,
Obviously.
but at risk.
8s are now. His backdoor spade to rework, and that's it. Shirley doubles again. Gives it the old fist pump.
I like this, man. You said me coming up. We'd have had to set up a set of top 6s. I would have called you all in. I would have called you all in. Yeah, you have to do the tactics. No, 100%. Nice out, Shell. Buttons good enough.
Thanks for counting. Give us a shout of your stack. Good game, guys.
Shirley has now pulled a bit of a Houdini. She's now up to 60k, and it's about 15 big blinds, which, yeah, certainly playable. Rework has obviously taken a hit there. He is now actually less than Shirley, so Rework is now looking possibly in last place or around the same as Shirley. 55 for Rework. Steve has taken a number of hits as well. Sorry, I say Steve, you guys know him as Professor X right now. Steve's stack has halved on his table by those things. He's looking at about, oh, maybe up in maybe it's about 120,000 for Steve. But Shirley certainly has a stack now that can cause some damage. Steve still applying the pressure. Open small to big, 15,000. Shirley on the big blind with 4,000. Now moves all in again. Really putting the pressure on Steve here. Steve does make the call. Steve has 10s. Shirley has ace king. Shirley at risk with the ace king. You see a 4, jack, 8, 2 diamond flop. We have no diamonds. It's irrelevant. We have a 5 of clubs on the turn. And a 6 on the river. And Steve Redfern stops Shirley's march short.
Shirley runs out of luck then,
Shirley runs out of luck, absolutely. And suddenly Steve Redfern has reasserted himself. Certainly as the second chip stack on the table. Despite that, guys, we are down to 4-handed.
Only big blind.
What's that, Steve?
Steve, wait, wait. Steve.
And big blind.
45-ish.
Okay, so it seems like I miscounted Steve's stack slightly earlier. He was in a lot better shape than I actually thought he was. I've just been informed that he's on 235 of 550,000 in play. We have Rework playing about 60k. We have Mr. Kingswell. Let me just have a little count of his. Mr. Kingswell about 210,000. And we have Don on about 60,000. So we certainly had two dominating chip stacks here. And we are indeed on the medal bubble. I'm sure APAT will pull their finger out shortly and get the medals on the table.
Brady.
One job, Brady.
He's on the case.
He's on the case, is he? Why can I see Brady doing shots with Lucy?
Yeah.
What's going on?
It's a normal APAT.
It's a normal APAT, right. Why is he doing shots off Lucy's belly button? What is going on, Lee? Tell me, what is this?
It's a normal APAT.
Normal APAT, guys.
The amount of times, Chris, where I'm stood here. Luckily, I have you with me today, but I can often be here on my own. And
I'm not sure. Luckily, it's the word you're looking for.
And I look around for some support, some help, and no one to be seen.
Are you suggesting that you basically are in Dez's consistent absence are now running APAT?
Oh, very much not, because I only do the stream.
Lee did not fall into that bear trap, unfortunately.
Look, Tom has just brought out enough medals to stock a medal shop.
Yeah, but obviously he's done that now, having taken the last shot off of Lucy's belly button. Hey.
So you've done that knowing that Lucy's now here, so therefore she can't actually be watching the stream anymore.
Oh God, yeah, I'm terrified of her. Yeah. For some reason now, Tom Brady is now doing press-ups. Can someone explain to me?
But actually on that...
Guys, I mean, you can't see this, but why is Tom Brady doing press-ups right now? What is happening?
Yeah, but he's going to break that poker table, though, isn't he?
Well... I don't understand. We're all surprised how strong he is. There's a coffee machine that's now been put on his back.
So we're four-handed here. And it's going to be blind on blind to see a flop, which is going to be Dave and Don. Right-hand side of your screen. Here we go. And it's 8-7 ace, and it goes check from David. And Don does the same, so we're going to see a turn. And it's a 6 of clubs on the turn. And Dave fires out a bet of 22,000. In a call. And Dave has got pocket eights. And Don shows ace 7, so it's trip eights, or set of eights for Dave, and it's the 2 pair, and we're going to lose Don in 4th place.
Dave, what you don't realise is that's thrown the bronze away. For that celebration, you've thrown the bronze away.
See that?
Don't deserve it.
Yeah, the hand plays that anyway. You shove free flop, I was scoring. Pocket pair, just short man.
Big blind for empties, please. We have only big blind.
It's a pleasure playing with you, sir. Genuinely, I mean that. I mean that.
You take a pause about an hour. Yeah, absolutely.
Be silly.
That's crushed.
And now, guys, we are down to 3-handed. Professor X, showing remarkable mobility, has moved round to seat 2.
You would have come over and told me where you was, right? And be a Redfern double.
Very well, and it's a fold, and Lee is doing some housekeeping on my rather bad medal placement, apparently. Yeah. You make sure they're straight, Lee. Yeah, the folks at home, they care. Sorry. I went plural, didn't I? The folk at home, they care. So we're three-handed, and we're now very deep three-handed, I have to say. Let's just get an idea of these blinds, guys, for you guys at home. We are now, so we're blinds 3,000, 6,000, and we have an average stack of 30 big blinds. So this...
Plenty of play then, Chris, really, for this final three.
It is plenty of play. What's interesting is that we do have one player who is playing about 9 big blinds. So I may end my life before this is over, because this could go on for a hell of a long time, particularly considering how Apex go.
Showdown, please.
I think we're nearly at a point where we'll probably lose some of these 100 chips off the table.
Announcement over the microphone. Literally no one in the casino has any flipping idea what the guys just said. It sounds like he was underwater in a shoebox. And guys, we have Iwa in the small, Kingswell in the big, Professor X opens to 11k at 2k, 4k. So we're looking at a free bet here from Dave to 37k.
Yeah, 37.
And Steve makes the call. So this is a huge pot relative to the third chip stacks total chips. We have more chips in the pot right now than Ewart has in total. We see a board of Queen 6-6 Rainbow. It's a check from Dave and a check from Steve. Turn is the Deuce of Hearts. Dave now reaching for chips. And Dave bets 33,000. $30,000, 33,000 bet from Dave. Victor Meldrew is in the tank. Giving this some consideration, but he does let it go, and Dave Kingswell takes it down with Ace King. I'm as baffled as you are, audience. I'm as baffled as you are. Dave, did you 3-bet 3? I've missed the action. Dave did in fact.
Now everyone, 3-6 with 600 ante. Three, 600 ante. 600 please, boss. 600. 4 people that are listening are doing 3,000 you ready?
So Chris, there's plenty of play here, isn't there? So yeah. Welcome to my world. Yeah.
From Ewart on the button, fold, fold. No action. No one's happy. Dave Kingswell folds the button. It's now on Professor X. And he has called, and rework moves all in. Steve Redfern snap calls, and we have 8s for rework and King Jack suited for Redfern. See a board of 8, 9, 10, 2 spades, an action flop. So we have bottom set for Rewer, and we have a and we have quads for Rewer, and that's it. That's a double up. That's a quite exciting hand, guys.
Sit down after that, Chris. Steve gives a shrug of the shoulders. He's up on his feet at the moment. Not a lot you can really do there. It's that's pretty standard poker there, Chris. Yeah.
Oh.
Nice hand. I like the flop.
I understand.
Let's go in free, go to the flop. He's right.
Can we get a stud FD screen instead of a COC?
And we have Steve Redfern on the button, who folds. Rework completes. Raising to 17,000, and rework folds. And I'm going to go and tighten and loose. With that, guys, with 3 left, I'm sure everyone, and by everyone I mean all 3 of you at home that are listening, will be delighted to hear that I am now passing over the mic. You'll have Lee Wiltshire here, another special guest.
There's no really anyone else here. It's just
Ian Thompson. Ian Thompson is eagerly about to grab the mic from me. And we now look like we're going to have Ian Millwall Thompson. Oh, Will. Huh? And I'll pass over to Ian now. And Ian is about to take over commentary duty with Lee Wiltshire. So goodbye from Ian. Hello to Ian Thompson.
Hello, Chris.
Chris is off to rail the triple stud.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much action there, Lee. Steve moves all in. And Redfern folds there.
Ian, already one bracelet and 1 silver for you so far this week. Been a good week?
It's been a very good week. Very enjoyable.
And some absolute proper legends here in this Champion of Champions.
There's a few.
And we're down to 3.
Yeah. Obviously, Dave's got the advantage here. That Ruud can play, and Steve. I think if it hadn't gone in pre-flop, that would have gone in on the flop.
I think it would have done, wouldn't it? Pretty much says it's just one of those hands, isn't it? Steve says them all in.
And gets it through.
Just keep that behind, just keep them near you. Oh, it's just this free and this free left. Saves asking me all the time.
Champions? I just leave it there. Reverend and stud. No? Do you play stud?
There, guys.
All right.
Keeper. Mementos. Only tall.
Ready? You're all right with you? Great. So don't want to forget about that.
Steve makes it 17 and a half to go, and Dave looks at his cards.
They're on the front. Yeah, no, they're still 700 still.
And Dave Kingswell makes the call. So we're going to see a flop. And the flop is 7-8 Jack of spades. Dave checks. And Steve puts in a bet of 24,000. Want to look at it?
24.
So Steve's made it 24,000 on a Jack 7-8 all spade board. So decisions on Dave, who's top right of the screen, baseball cap on. And Dave says them all in. Steve calls instantly.
Ace Queen with a spade.
So it's Queen Jack for Dave. It's Ace Queen for Steve. It's the Ace Queen that's going to be at risk here. And it's a 7. And a king on the river. And we're going to lose Steve Redfern in bronze medal position.
And Dave Kingswell takes that flop pot down. And we lose Steve in third and bronze. I'm not sure.
Is he moving over there? Is he moving over there? Do you want him to move? Just sit there. Do you want to move him?
Players are just going to take a quick 5-minute break before we play this heads-up game. Plenty of chips, though, still Ian here, yeah?
There's plenty of room for manoeuvre there.
Very much so. So we'll just literally kill the mics for 5 minutes whilst the players just sort themselves out. We'll be back in 5.
How long's the break? Take some of the breath off. You got time and want to do it? Go for it. I've got time.
racks? I've got some racks here.
Leads. I think I only need 2.
You can just rack them up and then at least. Yeah.
Just trying to make sure that you're not hanging around all the chips.
Look, he's done much this week, and he wants to get some money back.
We've lost some. We're doing it down. Yeah, that's all we can do. Yeah, they're going to come on here.
Take two.
I'll take 2 oranges and 10. He's got
Yeah.
Oh, I see, I'm sure this is. Yeah, this is.
No, let's go. You know, like you do. Yeah, no. It'll look good. It'll be worth it. Some food too.
No, I'll do this.
Hey, I think enough for this.
Jane. Frank is coming over.
Like, just where you're at.
Oh, right.
I know, right? They haven't even stacked them nice yet.
No, I can read it because I've stacked them. What?
My exact quote is you were squeaking and shouting.
Yeah, I've got. I just need 200k.
You're colouring up.
Yeah.
Just put the heads up so you want to get them off the plate.
1, 2.
Okay.
He's got about 400.
Okay.
I mean, he's got the rest.
So you've got the rest of that.
155.
How much? What is this? 10, 20. Where's who's it come from him?
Yeah, him.
What
No,
is it?
it's,
10,
that's his.
20.
That's his.
No, tell me what it is. 10, 20, 30, 40.
140.
No, 50. That's there with 10,000 each, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 400,000, yeah? They're 500 chips.
Yeah.
Each stack. For 10, yeah?
Yeah.
I've had the chips here. I've had the chips here.
Did you say about 155?
Okay.
$150 over here. Unless you want to take more.
I worked hard for this.
Be careful with him. I wouldn't trust him.
One each color.
I'm already ready. When you got a blanket in front of my face, I'm ready.
100, 150, 170, 175.
I haven't seen this before.
175. Thank you, sir. Cheers. Are we ready to start?
How do you pronounce your first name?
Ready to start?
Keep saying Rewit.
This is the piss.
Rewit. That's very well now. Good luck to you.
Have one of them back.
There's no anti-Zeds up. It's just blind, isn't it?
Who was that big guy last time?
Who was actually big blind? Him.
So
But there's no anti.
it's up to you, but. Are we ready?
Ready? 6-3.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, there's no answers. 6,000.
Players are back and we're ready to get going. My co-commentator, Ian Thompson, bracelet winner from this week with us. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Lee.
So, who's your money on?
Well, if I was backing, I'd put it on Dave, but I've got a good affinity with Ruth. We're good friends from previous team events.
Excellent.
And,
So Rewat's just move around the table just so that they've got a proper heads-up experience here. So he's on the left-hand side of your screen, and Dave is on the right-hand side of your screen. Loads of the APAC guys have been on watching the stream. We've been giving shout outs to all of them. You can always post up on the Facebook group where the link is if you want to shout out or you want to ask us a question. So anything if it's too technical, me and Ian will just look at each other puzzled. So nothing too tough. Yeah, no, Stu Ward's supping cocktails in Florida, Ian.
Really?
What a life, eh?
Doesn't sound like Stu, really.
Well, I wouldn't have had him down as a cocktail guy, but he's flying back in Saturday and going to have a couple of days here.
Oh, brilliant. And I believe Phil TC's coming down too.
Do you know, I had that conversation this morning with JP and genuinely put a smile on my face, looking forward to seeing Phil.
He would do. He puts a smile on everyone's face.
So blinds here are 3,000, 6,000 with a running ante of 600. And David's made up the small blind here. Decision on Rewood. And he checks. So we're going to see one of those lovely little flops now, Ian.
Rarity indeed.
And it's Trey Force Jack with 2 clubs. Goes check, check. 8 of hearts on the turn.
Check from Ruud, and Dave bets 7. Ruud makes the call, and we're going to the river. 10 of diamonds on the river. Ruud checks. Dave checks. And Dave takes it down.
Wow. Rewat says wow. So Rewat had the 4 there, so he flopped a pair. And David had 10-7 and rivered his pair. And yeah.
This is why we love this game.
Doesn't matter how you get there, Ian, as long as you get there somehow, yeah?
That's right. Not so many hills and mountains between us, Lee.
Well, yeah, exactly. Feel free to burst into full song if you fancy it.
Ruud moves all in, and Dave Kingswell folds. On to the next.
I mean, here we are at a point with Rewat. I mean, I'm just trying to look at his stack there now. He's got 75, 80, 90, 110.
140?
Not probably even that, 120 maybe. So he's got 20 bigs.
Yep.
How much movement has he got there, Ian? He can't afford to lose too many hands before he really is short stacked, yeah?
He can't be calling with that kind of stack. He's to be making a move.
So there's about 550 chips in play. So maybe he's got a little bit more than that. So it's maybe a 150 playing 400, something like that, I want to say.
Yep. And Dave shows the nuts. We move on.
Wow. When you got it, eh?
No words, Lee. No words.
Yeah. Dave won his event in Dublin this year. Is our Irish amateur poker champion for this season?
Yep, I've encountered Dave on the tables a few times.
So we're going to see another flop here, and it's deuce 7-10. Reward to act first. He checks, as does Dave. So they see the 5 of clubs. Puts a second club on the board.
Dave bets out 9k and Ruart folds.
I mean, what I'd say here is Dave's playing this perfectly well. He's just applying pressure. He's the chip stack at the chip leader at the table here, heads up, and he's not going to give Ruart an opportunity. By the looks of it.
No, Ruart's no fool. He'll bide his time if he can.
But he's still got plenty enough plays. He's not as if he's down to 10 bigs or anything like that at the moment, where he's a point of really he's having to just shove to look for that double up.
No, Ruart's quite an aggressive player.
Okay. So I presume he plays in the Belgian tours, APAC tours, or did he just come over for our Worlds? Or
no, but Didier was saying that most of the Dutch guys are playing in the Belgian tour, but to be honest, I couldn't be.
Yeah. Okay. So the board's 5-4-8 deuce here. And Rewart's still keeping his betting quite sensible.
Yeah.
I was the tiny stack, but like I was hanging on by my skin coattails, but like I'm not in mine. It's alright. Where's Steve's chip stack? Chip stack with to other players.
So it's Ruart to act, and Ruart makes it, and Dave folds instantly. So Ruart takes the pot. Ruart makes the call. Dave adds 11 to the pot, and Ruart folds.
Thank you, dealer. Cheers, dealer.
Hi guys.
We're going about 100. About 150.
Yeah, 110.
So the small blind on the button, Dave Kingswell, and Ruart's in the big blind for 6k. And it's Dave to act. And Dave makes it 13,000 to go. And decision on Ruart, and he calls. So we're going to see a flop.
The first time so far they've very much limped into pots here, and that's the first time where we've actually seen a raise pre really.
And the flop is 7-10-8. 2 hearts. Ace of clubs turn. Ruart checks. Dave Kingswell leads out for 17, and Ruart folds, and Dave takes the pot.
Yeah, these guys need to get a little bit more aggressive, I think, in this heads up.
Well, there's a lot of stake, isn't there? I suppose. I know it's
well,
Vegas package.
Everybody wants a week in Vegas with Tom Brady, Ian. That's what everybody's after.
Oh, really? Oh, I'll just fold to second, maybe.
Yeah, it's like First prize is a week in Vegas with Tom Brady. Second prize is 2 weeks in Vegas with Tom Brady.
Happy days.
I was calling.
Everyone loves Tom.
I'll tell you what I will say is, I mean, whenever we sent players out with LPPL, we sent players out with APAT last year, and yeah, Tom and the guys make sure everyone has a good time. Same way that the Grosvenor packages that are available this year, the Grosvenor guys make sure you go out to Vegas and you have a proper week of entertainment and poker.
It was a great time last June.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Grosvenor have looked after us these few days so far.
Yeah, very much so. We've got an absolutely packed card room here today for a Tuesday after a bank holiday.
So Dave on the button makes it 14 and Ruart folds 3 deuce. Dave shows an ace. And on to the next. It's a make-believe one. Shug, we need real money here.
Have you not? We need proper money. Yeah?
Shugs. So Ruart's in the small blind on the button, and Dave's in the big blind. Ruart's moved all in, and Dave folds, showing a king. Ruart shows pocket fives. On to the next. We have Steve Bailey. Steve Bailiff's taken a few bounties. You enjoying yourself, Steve?
Oh, always enjoy it. I just want to be playing with you again, lad.
Lovely experience. So, Dave Kingswell on the button, small blind, and Ruart in the big blind. Action's on Dave. Dave makes it 16 to go. Decision on Ruart. Ruart calls, so we're going to see a flop. The flop is ace, queen, 5, 2 diamonds. Dave leads out for 18 and takes it down. Where'd you... Joined on the sidelines here by Joe Carhill, regular A-patter. How are you doing, Joe?
Getting there, not bad.
You playing anything else tonight?
Yeah, I've paid in for the what's it called? Straddle. I have no idea how that will go.
I think I've entered that one as well, but who knows what's going on? No. So it's on Ruart, and Ruart folds, open folds 8-4, and Dave Kingswell shows King Jack again. See a pattern here. Okay, Dave's on the button to act. Dave makes up the big blind, and we're going to see a flop. And the flop is 6 of clubs, queen of hearts, king of hearts. Check, check. 7 of spades, check by Ruart. And Dave fret bets and Ruart folds. And the blinds are going up now to 4,800 8,000 with an 800 ante. Okay, so Ruitt in the small blind to act. He moves all in, and Dave folds, showing Jack 5. And Ruitt shows 5-7.
Ian's just was looking after that. I was just having to sort out because Shug Carney just gave me this dodgy £10 note, Ian. Did you see it?
It wasn't Scottish, was it?
It was one of them. It's a new Scottish plastic one. I mean, I got very confused. Yeah, very confused. Everyone's making their pick sixes ready for the team event.
Thank you, Don.
If you've not had a chance to do it, get on the Facebook group or the forum and make your picks, and somehow find a way of getting money to me, and you can get involved.
So
3 countries, 3 individual players, not from those countries, and you might scoop some cash, and also raise some money for prostate cancer research as well. So all for a good cause as well. Phil Coles is running the London Marathon for prostate cancer research.
22,000.
We're doing a little bit of a fun pick thing with a team event in the next 2 days. Get involved if you want to. Come and find me in the card room if you need to, or post up and we'll message me and we'll find a way of getting it sorted to get you in anyway. The more the merrier, because it's all for a good cause. So I think I've got nearly 50 odd entries, Ian. Yeah?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Phil's chuffed a bit, so it's great. So. And Phil's entered. Phil Cole's entered. He said if he wins, he'll donate the whole lot to the charity so that he's running for. So that's good for him. And we're going to try and get something in for Race for Jack later on in the week as well, which is a charity that Lucy, who does the blogging, and Stu Ward as well, heavily involved with. We're going to try and get something around the Masters Golf. So for anyone that knows their golf, fancies the chance, we'll do something like 5 picks. Be random ones for me. And do you know you in golf? Are you any?
Well, I've had a bit of a bet on Rory McIlroy.
Oh, so you know a bit about golf then? No. Oh, well, I'm not letting you enter then, Ian. If you know a bit about golf.
It doesn't really matter what you know.
No, clearly not, no. Oh, hang on, Joe Carhill's with us, so it's going to be a tight one, Joe. You know something about golf. That sounds like a man who knows something about golf.
Yeah, I read something about it this week, and there's like Woods is back, and Poulter won that tournament last year. And McIlroy's back into a bit of form. And
Dave Kingswell on the button.
Americans you never heard of, as usual, who are not bad. So
Ian, he clearly knows too much. I'm definitely not letting him enter. That was it. Yeah. So this is getting to the point very close here where
Dave makes it 24 and Ruitt folds.
Yeah, I mean it looks brutal, doesn't it, when Dave's raising it out the big stack and Ruitt's just got nothing to play with. And what's he down to now?
Ruitt's down to about 70k maybe.
Yeah, with blinds at 4,000, 8,000 now with a running ante of 800.
Just under 70k.
He's down to less than 10
to make a move.
I mean, it really is a case of he's got to find a spot to make a move here now. Really has.
So next hand, and Dave's in the big blind and Ruitt's on the small blind. It's only 8.
It's going to be next couple of hands. We're going to see. We've got to see it, and we are all in the call, I think. Yeah. And it's all in from Ruitt. It's not this time though.
And Dave's folds.
Can't give me 6-3 when he goes all in. It's
double. We wait for this to finish then before we start.
No, I thought you were starting, and as soon as we had done, we'll bring you over.
Okay.
That's the plan. Right.
That's what Tom told me. Are you on a stop clock? Where are you ready to go?
Well, I don't know, but we've got 2 minutes.
Dave on the button, small blind, makes it 25. So we have an all in and a call. Dave shows Queen Jack, Ruart shows 9-10.
Dealer. Can we get those cards in here, please? So they're on camera. Lovely. Thank you very much, sir. Go for it.
Come on.
Need to be a 9 or a 10, and it's not. And
it's all
Dave
over,
Kingswell
and Dave
is going to be
Kingswell
our champion of
is our
champions
champions.
for season 11. Very well done to him. Absolutely superb. Big thank you to Ian for a bit of commentary there. We're going to rush this through, Ian. The reason we're going to rush this through is because we're going to get photos done here. We're going to kill this stream. We're going to start a brand new stream because we've got another final table coming up here. Do you fancy commentating on some triple stud action?
Unfortunately, much as I'd love to, I'm playing in the Mississippi Straddle.
Well, thanks very much, Ian. Much appreciated for your commentary there. Right, so guys, basically, as I just said, we're going to get this done. Dave's going to get his winner's photo. We're then going to kill this stream. We'll get a new link up for the triple stud, and we'll get that final table over. It's a conveyor belt of final tables tonight. Bracelets going out left, right, and centre. We will be back shortly.